Welcome to an all-new episode of Get Lit with Lianna, the podcast. Join me as I sit down with a new guest author in each episode to discuss their books, careers, and everything in between. Today I'm sitting down with actress, singer, songwriter, and new author Pia Mia to chat about her new book, Sequins and Silicone. This book had me written all over it. It is such a fun depiction of Hollywood life, what it's like to be a star singer in Hollywood. Absolutely had the best time chatting with Pia Mia. I've been a fan of her music for the longest time and loved her in the after movie adaptations. So when I was pitched the opportunity to chat with her today, have her come on the show, I was absolutely just like so excited. This is a really fun conversation. We talk about everything from obviously this book to a little bit of her background, her music career, and what she's working on next. Also, I asked her about some of her favorite books and movies and TV shows. So if you want some good recommendations from Pia Mia, keep listening. Without further ado, my conversation with the beautiful, the talented, the so sweet Pia Mia starts right now. Welcome, Pia Mia, to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I really, honest to God, truly never thought you would be somebody on my show. And when I got this pitch from your team, because I had heard your book was coming out, I was so excited because this is like a crossover I never knew that I would get the opportunity to have. So I'm so happy to have you here. But firstly, how are you feeling? Just I guess by the time this episode comes out, the book will be out, but how are you feeling in the days leading up to its release?
I'm feeling all the things. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. It's wild because this book started so many years ago. I started writing it in the beginning of the pandemic, and it feels like it took so long, but at the same time, I feel like everything is happening right now. And at the same time, so fast. So
Yeah.
just really along for the ride. It's my first time doing anything like this in the publishing world. So, I'm learning something new every day.
It's amazing. So I would love to go back a bit before all of this author stuff and writing stuff kind of happened. Take me back a bit about your background because it's actually so cool. And I don't think I've ever had anyone on my show that has a even remotely close to similar background as you in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I mean, the journey is kind of crazy. I was born and raised on the island of Guam. I'm native to Guam, so my whole family is still there. I fell in love with music through school plays and school musicals. The first one was Cinderella, and the second I stepped on a stage, I was like, okay, I feel really confident. I'm having so much fun. It just clicked for me that I really loved music and entertainment. And so I did that for a long time and would perform anywhere I could on Guam. And then I would submit myself for America's Got Talent or X Factor and those kind of shows. At the same time, my older sister Candace would record all my performances everywhere on island, and she would upload them to YouTube. So I started, getting on social media and building a following. And when I turned 13, I had begged my parents to let me come to LA and see what the industry is like. I was so curious about recording studios and, how do you make a song and just what is this about?
Mm-hmm.
So I came for a summer and long story short, ended up signing to Babyface for a year-long production deal. So that's where I learned all the ropes of recording studios and all of that. And then, just kind of through the years have tried to follow the signs and not force anything, but just do the best that I can. And I'm just going to stay as long as it feels good and I'm working and my family comes back and forth and I go home to Guam a lot too. So we all kind of make it work.
It's amazing. I'm not even gonna lie. I've been such a fan of your music for so long.
Thank you so much.
It's so fun now that you're parlaying into the writing world. And I definitely want to get into that decision and kind of how this came about. But I feel kind of the natural progression here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is when you were involved in the after movie adaptations. Is that kind of how you got this bug in your head? Oh, maybe I can try to write a book. What was the connection with after, or was that connection even a thing that kind of led to this project?
No, I think well, after definitely played a big part because Anna Todd is publishing my book, but I always have been really creative and I've always come up with concepts for, potential pitches for TV shows or movies or books, right? And I just never really had the time to like sit down and think about it and really like make it make sense. But I've always wanted to write a book, and I love romance. It's the driving factor and, the way I write my music. And so it was always a dream of mine, but I didn't really have the time until the pandemic hit. And that was after we had filmed the first After movie, and which is where I met Anna and had heard about Wattpad, and kind of
Mhm.
just, my eyes were opened into this world where you could write a book and put it online and people could read it as you're writing. So when the pandemic hit, I just started, I just dove in. I had never written anything like this before. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put my outline together. I'm going to figure out my character descriptions, and I'm just going to upload. So that's kind of how it started. But After was a big part of it because that was kind of my introduction on like Wattpad, and the way that Anna had kind of, her journey unfolded was so inspiring to me. So
Mhm.
I was really nervous to present it to Anna because I'm like, I didn't know, I was like, I've never written a book before, and she's so iconic. And I was like, am I really going to present her this book and, talk to her about it? But she
Yeah.
has been just so amazing this whole process.
Yeah, I love her. She was on this podcast not too long ago to talk about her new series. And she had mentioned how she was like fostering some like newer writers and working on some new projects. But at the time, I don't think it was public that she was working with you on this project. So when I saw
Mhm.
that this had come out, I was like, this is absolutely insane. Like, this is the best synergy ever. Like, I am obsessed with this collab or whatever it is. But I would love to
Yeah.
talk a bit more about the After movies. Like, did you know about the After books before you joined the
I
actual
didn't know
series?
about the After books
Okay.
before. And then
Okay.
when we joined, I kind of obviously got into everything and saw the fan base, and like
Mhm.
it is the best crowd. Like I remember the After premiere, the movie premiere we did actually here at the Grove, which is where I'm doing my book signing for Sand Sequins and Silicone. So it's so cool. But so many of the fans came out, and at that time I had recently gone independent and
Mhm.
had released this song called Bitter Love, which was a song I'd had for a long time and always wanted to put out, but never was able to. And so the After fan base really helped support that song and push that song. And so it was in the movie, and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it was like the stars were aligning.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
tell me a bit about like your writing background, because obviously I know you're a songwriter, and I imagine like writing for music is very different than writing sorry, not a screenplay, a novel, like trying to write a book. So tell me a bit
Mhm.
about like that kind of difference, if there is any similarities there. Obviously, like when you're writing a song, it's a story in such a shorter, condensed amount of
Yeah.
time. So like, what was that kind of exercise like when trying to like put pen to paper?
For the book, or
Yeah.
just comparing both of
Like it
them?
both in general.
Yeah, they are like in some ways they are similar, but in others they are very different. I mean, the book is semi-autobiographical, but it is a fictional romance novel. So in some ways it's similar to writing music because I'm kind of pulling inspiration from my life, but the book is, the stories are embellished and names are
Hmm.
changed, characters are meshed together and all these kind of things. And so when we go into the studio, a lot of times it's kind of just see what we feel that day, and kind of depending on what I'm going through, or maybe I want to break out an old journal entry or something like that, but there's not really like a real structure to it. I've been working on a project for a while now, and once you kind of start getting a bulk of songs done, then you can pick out, okay, what do we think we're missing? But when it came to the book, the way I wrote it was kind of like, okay, I had the general idea of what I wanted the story to be about. And this is also a series. So I'm kind of figuring out how this is supposed to go, but this is just the first book. So I had the idea for the first book, and then I kind of just wrote like an outline with the main plot points that I wanted to include. And then made lists of like what the filler stories are going to be, and then broke down the characters, and I just started writing, kind of trying to follow that outline. But as I wrote, things kind of changed. And so I didn't end up exactly following my original outline, but that's kind of how it goes. It was a bit more structured than like songwriting,
Right.
obviously. So you have to, include so much more information.
For
But
sure. So before you brought this idea to Anna and kind of pitched her, like how much of this idea had been fleshed out at that point? Or was it like with her work, like you and her working together to kind of build this?
no, the book was done.
Book was done.
Yeah. So like
Wow.
it had been like years. Like I started writing it in the beginning of the pandemic, and I uploaded the first 3 chapters to Wattpad, and I had seen the the audience on there was so supportive and so engaged. And so I was like, okay, instead of writing and uploading weekly, I'm going to stop uploading and just like actually really work on the story and try to perfect it. So, I had worked on the book on and off for a couple of years before I finished it. And then once I finished it, I had it for a while and I wanted to do something with it, but I just didn't know what to do. And then I thought of Anna and so we met for coffee and I gave her the info and
Yeah.
she seemed to really like the story. So from that point though, there's so much editing that's involved, it makes sense now, but I just didn't think about it before.
Mhm.
So Anna definitely went in and, made her comments on where she thought there were plot holes. And then there are a couple of other editors that come in. So the book got worked on again after I had finished writing it because there was a lot of different editing and stuff like that. So,
For sure.
yeah, but I mean, the whole book was done when I first presented it to Anna.
That's crazy. So from that iteration to what everyone can now read when the book is out, like how different is it? Like, is it at all really different? Is it more like technicality things that were tweaked? Did the story
Yeah.
really change?
So I don't think the story changed that much from what it was when I presented it to Anna. I think it was just more refined. And I
Mhm.
think some of the characters, when I had originally wrote it, like after rereading it, after having it for a while, I was like, okay, these aren't really coming off exactly the way I had imagined them. So we kind of reworked certain things or certain, ways scenario might play out,
Mhm.
slightly tweaked those so that they kind of like aligned more with how I wanted the characters to be. But in general, the story has stayed the same.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay. So for those who have not read the book, can you provide
Mhm.
like a little explanation as to what the book is about? I know this is like the worst question ever every time I ask an author
It's
this.
hard to answer, but no,
I know. I know. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. You have to. It's hard because there's so much you want to say, right? But then you don't want to give spoilers.
For
But
sure.
in general, this book is about an artist named Princess who comes to Los Angeles and to Hollywood for her career. She's a singer and she falls in love, and it's kind of about her love story and the roller coaster that is. Maybe a love triangle, maybe not. I don't know. You'll have to read the book and see. And something that was really important to me when I was writing the book was Princess's friend circle. So she has a group of girlfriends that are like ride or die, Valerie, Jessie, and Maya. And that was a really important part of the book for me because that's something I kind of always wanted in my life and I'm always searching for in my life that I don't know if I've exactly found yet. So
Mm.
that's a part of the book I think people will really like, but it does also, shed light on Hollywood and the industry. And sorry, I'm like looking at the book cover and like thinking about it while I'm talking.
That's perfect.
But yeah, it's a really fun romance read that's kind
Mhm.
of set in Hollywood. There's betrayals and there's, torn relationships and there's scandal. And it's just a, really fun read. I hope people like it.
I'm sure people will like it. I mean, I read it in legit one sitting. I like
Did
put it,
you?
yeah, and like literally couldn't put it down. It took me like 4 hours and I was obsessed. I was, because I'm someone also that's like very obsessed with like celebrity and like pop culture. And I've always had a real interest in like the music business. I mean, I worked for quite a bit of time in film and TV. So it's a bit
Mhm.
different, obviously, than the music business, but I've always been like obsessed with music and like concerts. And it's always been such like an interest of mine. So to kind of see like that curtain be pulled back in a fictional way, um,
Mhm.
it was really like something that I haven't really read before. But I love how you mentioned before that this book is like loosely based on your life. Obviously, it's like
Yeah.
elements of experiences you've gone through trying to
Mhm.
make it and break into this music industry. How was it
Mhm.
like? Tell me about that experience, kind of incorporating those personal anecdotes, but also ensuring that your privacy was still maintained and you didn't kind of cross
Mhm.
that boundary into like revealing too much about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really curious to see what people say and what they think are the real things that happened. I mean, everything is the things that I did use are versions of what happened. So it's not exactly, what it was, but I am curious if they'll be able to pick out kind of like what those events were. But what was the question?
Just like how you managed to kind of in like draw on that inspiration from your real life, but still kind of
Oh,
maintain that like boundary of privacy where you're like not really giving too
mm,
much. Was that kind of
yeah. So that I think is where it comes into play, where it's like similar to when I'm writing my music. So, you just kind of what I always say, like, I think people go through the same things. The details vary, but I think overall we kind of experience the same things. And so when I was writing the book, I just kind of like Princess had to have certain obstacles that she needed to overcome. There are a lot of similar things that people go through when they come to Hollywood. And so I just kind of tried to do my best with like
Hmm.
making it as real and authentic as possible. Yeah, without like airing out
Dirty
my,
laundry.
yeah, exactly.
Very fair. So this book
But there's
obviously,
also so many fun things that have happened, and not all the stuff that, happens in the book that's negative or challenging is it. There's also the really fun and exciting and good things that have happened.
100%.
Yeah.
I love this book for so many reasons. I just feel like it's a roller coaster of events. Like at every turn, there's just like something happening in princesses' lives, like whether it's like the backstabbing of friends or like
Mhm.
different types of betrayal or like the
Mhm.
stalker fans. Like when you were writing this book, were you like, okay, this is a moment that was so crazy in my life. I have to incorporate it. Like, were those light bulb moments for you? And like, would you mind sharing
Yeah.
which scenarios kind of were like really key things you wanted to include?
Yes, I want to say what they were, but I don't also want to give spoilers yet just because
Fair.
the book isn't out. But yes, there were certain scenarios that I was like, I definitely want to include a version of this or use this as
Mhm.
like inspo. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And even like with the second book now, it's um, I'm putting together the outline and everything for it. And so I'm kind of re-going through that process again where I'm like, okay, what are the things that have happened over the years that I really think like are going to mold this story and are crucial for, giving the real feel
for
to kind
sure.
of the things you go through. Yeah.
For sure. So when you were writing this book, was there like a specific scene or a specific moment that was really hard for you to put pen to paper? Like, just
Yeah.
as a writing experience, never mind if there was like any other emotion kind of behind it, but just like really trying to get and articulate a scene properly and kind of if there was one, how did you overcome it and how did you kind of get there?
Yeah. There are a couple that come to mind. One is um, this I don't think will be a spoiler, but it's like in the Coachella section.
Hmm.
There was a part of that was kind of like an intense emotion. That was kind of challenging for me to get down. And then also the ending of the book.
Mm,
So at the time that I was editing with my editor, the end of the book, I was actually on tour in Australia and I was moving around every day and I was like on the craziest schedule. And my editor was in Canada. And so our time difference was really insane. And I had been going back and forth with her because I really was debating the ending of the book. I wanted it to be the right moment. And I like don't want to give a spoiler, so I don't
don't worry.
say, but that was really hard and very stressful because we had like really short moments of time where we could connect and get on the phone and kind of she could help me talk it through and think it through.
Mm,
But I remember like I was in the middle of dinner. It was like 10:30 p.m. We were all exhausted and I had been waiting to get on the phone with her. And so I literally like my food had just come out and I was like, I have to go because the book has to go to typeset. And like I didn't even know what these end processes are with the book. And so I remember, yeah, it was like so late, had to leave, went upstairs to the room. I'm like on the phone with her and I'm like rewriting the end because I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to make any more changes, but like I have to change this part of the book. So
wow.
changed it while she could like see what I was doing. And then, you know, put that bow on it and sent it off. And I was like, oh God, I hope I made the right choice.
Oh my God. And how do you feel now that the book is out there? Like, do you feel like you made the right
I
choice?
feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good. And
Okay.
that's very like my style. Like if I have something, my brain is just always going. So there's going to be always something that I think could be better or that I want to change. And like, if I can change it, I will. But it was pretty funny because when we started this, process of the second book, she was like, Pia, like, we cannot be on that kind of a schedule, like this time around. And I was like, don't worry. Like, that was just my first rodeo.
Yeah,
So
now
now
you're
I get,
seasoned. You're good.
yeah.
Yes, as an amateur anymore.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So obviously knowing you have like a little bit of a film background, have you kind of visualized what this would look like if it were to be adapted to the screen? Like, was that something you ever thought about when writing this book? I know so many authors like don't like to like fan cast their books because they kind of want to
Mhm.
leave it up to the reader's imagination as to like what these people would look like. But I just
Mhm.
want to know, like, given your film background, like, is that something you've given any thought to, or maybe something when you were writing, you were like, oh, this would make actually for an epic scene if it were to ever be adapted?
Yeah, I think the like ultimate dream, it would be so amazing like if this book series could be turned into a movie or TV. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, and I'm just happy that the books are coming out. But yeah, I would really love for, that to be the next stage of the story. As far as like style and, casting and things like that, I don't really know. I
Mhm.
think a lot of it is going to probably depend on how the audience feels. And I think it's so important to kind of take their reactions into consideration and kind of make sure you're going to give them what they want.
100%. That's so fun. So I know you mentioned before also that you're like a big, like you love like the romance genre. I'm wondering if you
Yeah.
can like share with everyone some of your like top picks of like either a romance book or a romance movie or a romance TV series. Like I'm always looking
Yeah.
to expand things to like watch and read and digest. So I'm wondering if you have any like
Yeah.
fun call outs. I know not to put you on the spot, but
No,
maybe on top
absolutely.
of your head.
Oh, yeah. The entire ACOTAR series is at the top
Hmm.
of my head.
Okay.
Like, I just finished reading the series and I'm dying for the sixth book. And
Okay.
it was honestly my first time reading like romantasy.
Okay.
And so, I'm just like, oh my God, there's so many series that I need to read in this genre.
Yeah.
But I, found myself just waiting to get home every day to crawl into bed and like read until I can't keep my eyes open anymore and like sobbing every
Yeah.
day. Like
The best
I was so
feeling.
emotional reading this book series. And so that is definitely, I know, a very popular recommendation right now, but that is the last thing that I have read.
Okay,
I'm
fair.
starting Zodiac Academy and I'm on the first book. I'm just like a couple of chapters in. So I'm starting that. Um, and then as far as movies, I have always loved, these are the classics. These are not going to be anything new, but like How to Lose a Guy in 10
The
Days,
best.
The Proposal, my go-to.
Love.
And I love The Breakup. I don't know if you've seen that one with Jennifer Aniston.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those are like a couple that I love. And then I'm trying to think of TV shows. Oh, like Sex and the City.
Classic.
I'm rewatching right now, and it was so funny because Anna and I were on a live the other day, and she had said how she's also rewatching it,
That's so
and
funny.
how our perspectives are so different now,
Yeah.
with of the characters. So I'm just newly restarting that again.
Love.
Obsessed.
Love.
Yeah.
I never got into like the ACOTAR series. I'm so not a romantic girly. I've tried so hard.
Really?
I read Fourth Wing and I actually like enjoyed it
Oh, that's
while
on
I
my
was,
list.
yeah, I enjoyed it while I was reading it. But then
Hmm.
at the end, I was like, I just think that like I can't suspend enough disbelief for romanticy. I wish I could, but I'm someone like your book is way more in my lane where it's like
Mm.
gossipy pop culture-y, like romance love
Yeah.
triangles. Like that's
Yeah.
more my bag. But all those movies and all those TV shows, I'm obsessed with them all. Do you have any, I don't know if you can even talk about this, but do you have any like film projects on the horizon? Is that something you're thinking of continuing to pursue?
Oh. Yeah, I don't know what I can say, but I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
And I have always loved the theatrical space. And it's so crazy because the industry changes so much over the years. Like when I first was getting into everything, taking acting classes here and there was kind of one of the things that I did when I was younger and literally had first come to Los Angeles because it's like, what do you do? So
Hmm.
I would, take some dance classes here or there, take some acting classes here or there. But I mean, at the same time, those things are all very expensive. So I didn't really consistently get to do those things. But I've always loved the theatrical space. I think that probably comes from, starting in musical theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. And I am actively um, in that world. And yes, hope to do more. And
Amazing.
hopefully we'll have announcements for that
That's so
soon.
fun. So fun. You're doing the most. So I know that you hinted obviously that this is a series. There's another book coming
Yes.
out for sure in this series. Where are
Yeah.
we like currently at in that process? Like, is it outlining? Is it being written? Has it
Yeah.
finished? Like,
So
where are
I'm
we?
pretty much like finalizing my outline. I've been working on that over the last like month or so. And um my timeline this time is tightened up. So yeah, my outline is probably going to be like done in the next week or two.
Okay.
And then yeah, and then I'm going to start writing.
So fun. I'm
Yeah,
so
I'm very
excited.
excited.
I'm sure everyone's gonna love to know that there's more coming. I mean, obviously, like I'm just like chomping at the bit waiting to see where the story goes and like what happens with these characters. So I'm sure that that will be like the overall consensus. But what are you hoping at the end of the day that these readers take away from this book, or at least like from you as a new author in this space?
For me, like books and just any kind of entertainment, I'm just always looking for an escape. And so I hope that that can bring, the readers that little piece of, relaxation at the end of the day, or just, take them out of their world and whatever they're going through. And I think that's why I really enjoyed the ACOTAR series, just because I've been so busy lately. And so it's kind of nice to step outside of your own world. But I think, Sand, Sequins, and Silicone is like the perfect balance of romance and friends and happiness, and also just completely being broken apart. And so I think it's a nice, well-rounded story. And I just hope that they love the characters as much as I do. And
Yeah,
I had so much fun, figuring out how you write a book. So I just hope they like it.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Well, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was so nice to get to chat with you and like see you face to face. Now I
Oh,
can
you
like put a
too.
human behind some of my favorite songs that I like sing in the shower. So this is really fun.
Yeah.
But no, I'm wishing you all the success with this launch, and I can't wait for your next book, and you'll have to come back so we could talk about it. And then we could talk about book one freely with spoilers. We could get even
Yes.
further into it, which is
Yes.
always a really fun time. So thank you so much
Yes.
again.
And there will be more music by then too. So we'll have lots to discuss.
Oh my God, stop. Oh my God, no, I'm too excited now. You need to like stop in Canada on your next tour so I can come see you in person.
I know, I need to. I've never been there, so
It's a must. At least Toronto, that's like
yes, I need
pretty
to.
popular place.